Calvin Klein has prepared a collection campaign called the most ambitious in the history of its brand, larger than any collaboration with any supermodel, bolder than their iconic campaign of the 90 seconds. According to a fashion industry source in New York, the concept was designed since the beginning of the year with direct supervision from Calvin Klein's global creative director, Eva Serrano. He wanted something that not only featured Jungkook as a model, but as the narrative core, the center of the story, the soul of the entire campaign. Imagine a futuristic fashion installation, a fusion of Calvin Klein's signature minimalist aesthetic with cinematic elements depicting Jungkook's global journey. In this campaign, Jungkook doesn't just wear clothes, he becomes a symbol of the brand's transformation, from classic to contemporary, from America to the world. And uniquely, the date of October 28 was not chosen in vain. Calvin Klein is known for being very strategic with launch dates. 28 is the same number as the number of countries in which they will release this collection simultaneously. This campaign will be Calvin Klein's biggest global debut ever, with Jungkook as the main face connecting all markets from Seoul, Tokyo, New York to Milan. Internal sources say that the visual concept of this campaign has 3 layers. The first layer features Jungkook in an urban environment that reflects a side of modernity and boldness. The second layer, called the Essence, shows Jungkook in an all-white space, a symbol of Calvin Klein's clean, pretentious identity. The third layer is the most interesting, a cinematic scene called The Reflection Room, in which Jungkook stands between reflections of himself, symbolizing the phase of career and maturity he reached during this time. The campaign will be released with a 4-minute, 28-second short film, a detail that Calvin Klein's creative team says is a tribute to the release date as well as a symbol of harmony between time and momentum. But why Jungkook? This question seems to have been answered by the world for a long time. Since she became Calvin Klein's global ambassador in 2023, her economic impact has been tremendous. In just 24 hours after the release of his first campaign photo, Calvin Klein's earned media value soared to more than $13 million, and the stock of products he wore was instantly sold out in various countries. But for this October 28 campaign, Calvin Klein is no longer playing at the level of numbers, they are playing at the level of history. Jungkook is not treated as an endorsement celebrity, but rather as an element of Calvin Klein's new DNA. In every creative meeting, even the name Jungkook is called in parallel with design elements, such as denim material, tailoring pieces, or color concepts. This means that Calvin Klein considers Jungkook not just a face, but part of the narrative structure of the brand itself. In Korea, news of the campaign has become a hot topic in the fashion media. Many predict that the October 28 launch will take place simultaneously with the opening of the latest Calvin Klein flagship store in Tokyo, a strategically sensible move given that Japan is becoming one of the largest Asian markets for the CK Jeans premium line. Some observers even said it was likely that Jungkook would appear live at the launch event. If true, it would be a monumental moment, the presence of a global K-pop star at the heart of Asia's fashion industry under the banner of a legendary American brand. The campaign involves a legendary British photographer known for his high-contrast minimalism style, combining natural lighting and strong realism details. Calvin Klein wanted to show a side that the public had never seen. Not Jungkook as an idol, but Jungkook as a man who grew up amid global pressures, and how he channeled that authenticity into every body movement and camera gaze. Behind the scenes, the campaign's production involves a team of choreographed gestures to ensure each pose feels natural yet meaningful. Even the fashion designers behind this collection work on the principle of motion-based tailoring. That is, each piece of clothing is designed to still look perfect when worn by someone who is constantly moving, dancing, or walking quickly in front of the camera. This philosophy is taken from the career journey of Jungkook himself, who is known as the most dynamic performer of his generation. According to a report from Business of Fashion, the campaign will be part of the Calvin Klein 2030 Vision Strategy, a major project focused on modernizing the brand's image and collaborating with icons across industries. Jungkook was chosen not only for his influence on social media, which reaches billions of interactions every time his name is mentioned, but also for his representation of a global generation that dares to cross the line between music, art, and fashion. Calvin Klein called it the new core identity. Interestingly, in the creative process of this campaign, Jungkook reportedly had a direct hand in the selection of background music and visual elements. Several members of the production team were involved in the moodboard sessions, even providing cinematographic references inspired by classic 1990 seconds films and Helmut Lang-era fashion editorial videos. In an internal interview that has not been released, Eva Serrano even referred to Jungkook as a creative collaborator, not just a brand face. She said, "We didn't just shoot Jungkook wearing Calvin Klein, we captured how Calvin Klein looks when seen through Jungkook's lens." And here lies the main strength of the October 28 campaign. It's not just about clothes. It's about meaning. About how an American global brand reinterprets itself through the eyes of a Korean artist who grew up in the digital age. It is about the relationship of two worlds, East and West, classical and modern united in a single visual narrative. When screens first show Jungkook's face in the campaign film, the world will see not just a model, but a cross-generational and cross-cultural symbol. No wonder the international fashion media have begun to predict that this campaign will be a new milestone. Vogue Korea wrote, "If this campaign succeeds, Calvin Klein will officially enter a new chapter in which Asian power is no longer just a target market, but a major source of inspiration." Harper's Bazaar Japan calls it the next global blueprint for other brands looking to unite cultural identity with the power of digital celebrity. Now, all eyes are on October 28th. On that day, all Calvin Klein social media lines will air an exclusive countdown, followed by the premiere of the campaign film and the global release of the collection. Calvin Klein is also preparing giant installations in several world cities, including New York, Seoul, and Tokyo, where Jungkook's portrait on the scale of a skyscraper will be plastered for a full 48 hours. A symbol that on that day, the fashion world will revolve in the orbit of a man named Jungkook. No one knows for sure how the public will react, but if you look at the history of the relationship between Jungkook and Calvin Klein, the result is predictable, phenomenal. Each project of the collaboration of the two always exceeded expectations, not only in sales, but also in forming a new direction of visual trends. And on October 28, when the world opens its eyes in the morning, mobile phone screens, billboards, and televisions in various parts of the world will display the same one sentence: Calvin Klein presents the new era featuring Jungkook. That's when everything changed. A campaign that celebrates not only clothing, but also soul, travel, and symbols of authenticity. Calvin Klein is no longer just a brand, and Jungkook no longer just an idol. On that day, both will be living history. Interestingly, before this big decision was made, Calvin Klein went through global research for almost 8 months. They collected data from more than 30 major markets to understand what the younger generation really wants in fashion today. The results are surprising. Gen Z and Alpha generations are looking not only for style, but meaning. They want clothes that speak, that have a narrative and an emotional connection. And among all the world celebrity names analyzed, Jungkook emerged as the most powerful representation of authentic modern identity. He is not only popular, but also trusted. He has not only influence, but also integrity. And in the world of fashion marketing, trust is the most expensive currency. This is where it all began. In a secret meeting in New York in February 2025, Calvin Klein's executive team held a closed-door presentation titled Project Eclipse. The name itself became a symbolization of the big idea behind this campaign. A rare moment when two great powers meet and create an incredible sight, like an eclipse. On the presentation board, there were only 3 big words. Jungkook, human, revolution. 3 words that will become the foundation of the entire October 28 campaign. The concept is clear: to present Jungkook not as the face of Calvin Klein, but as a reflection of modern man. It will be a narrative about honesty, about calmness in the spotlight, about strength born of simplicity. Because of this, the campaign film does not use dialogue at all, only music and visuals. The message is not spoken, but felt. Like the classic Calvin Klein style that has long relied on visual storytelling rather than words, each scene in the film is designed like a real-life piece. There is a scene of Jungkook walking alone on a quiet city street at night, wearing a grey denim jacket with an oversized cut and wide-cut jeans. The camera follows his movements from behind, highlighting every detail, from the way his hand touches his pocket to his reflective gaze towards the shop window. All set to create a calm sense of realism, as if the audience were peering into Jungkook's personal world without the distraction of the media spotlight. In a post-production interview, one of the creative team members recounted how Jungkook treated the shoot like a personal project. He even asked that the lighting in some scenes be made dimmer, so that the shadows look natural and not too glossy. He said he wanted the results to feel honest, not perfect. And therein lies the strength of this campaign: visual honesty. Jungkook isn't trying to look pretentious or glamorous, he's just being who he is. And that's precisely where his starry aura comes from. Naturally, Calvin Klein is not a new player in creating world-shaking commercials. They've spawned legendary campaigns like Brooke Shields in the 1980 seconds with the tagline, "Nothing comes between me and my Calvins." But this time, they went further. They don't want to create controversy or hype, they want to create connection. In the fast-paced digital world where everyone is vying for attention, Calvin Klein has chosen precisely the opposite path. Silence, simplicity, and sincerity. And who better to represent that philosophy than Jungkook, an artist whose career grew out of tacit persistence and consistency without saying much. In the creative process, the production team also did something Calvin Klein had never done before. They placed the camera behind the scenes during the entire filming process. That is, there will be short documentaries showing how Jungkook works behind the scenes, how he interacts with the team, how he chooses costumes, even how he adjusts his breathing rhythm to be in sync with camera movements. This isn't just bonus content for fans, it's part of a narrative strategy. Calvin Klein wants the public to see that behind a global campaign that looks perfect, there is a real human being inside. And from the business side, this move is an amazingly smart strategy. In the fashion world, the current trend is no longer about selling a product, but building a story. Everyone wants to feel part of something bigger. By making Jungkook the center of the story, Calvin Klein doesn't just sell clothing collections, they sell emotions, experiences, and symbols of authenticity that audiences in different countries can feel. Many analysts say that this campaign will change the map of collaboration between Western fashion brands and Asian celebrities. Because for the first time, the position of Asian celebrities is not positioned as regional representatives, but as the main axis of global brand identity. Jungkook is not an ambassador for Asia. He is the face of the world. It is not an additional accent in American branding. It is the essence of its new direction. And interestingly, in Calvin Klein's internal circles, this campaign is referred to as the Jungkook era campaign, because for the first time in the company's history, the artist's name appears more often in internal documents than the name of the collection itself. In fact, in an internal report leaked to the media, the marketing department mentions that their main KPI, key performance indicator, is no longer direct sales, but a global perception of brand relevance. In other words, they don't just want to sell jeans, they want to sell moments. The moment when the world stopped for a moment, looked at the screen and said, "That's Jungkook, that's Calvin Klein, that's the future." And that's where the magic of October 28th will happen. A day when music, fashion, culture, and history meet in one frame. A day when Calvin Klein is no longer just a brand selling denim, but a story about how people and brands can come together to create a new narrative. So when the campaign finally aired, and millions of people around the world watched the scene of Jungkook staring at his reflection in the glass, in those classic grey jeans that look so simple yet elegant, they didn't just see the ad, they will see the meaning. That behind every garment, there is a story. Behind every spotlight, there is a human being. And on that October 28, the world will come to its senses. In the new era of global fashion, authenticity is no longer just a trend, but strength.